So, welcome everyone back to the Learning for Humanity MHPSS webinar series, Mental Health and Psychosocial Support webinar series. In our previous sessions, we explored caregiver well-being, burnout, self-care, and the foundations of mental health and psychosocial support. Today, we continue building on that foundation that we already built and focusing specifically on practical counseling skills and community support. This session is designed to explore simple but powerful ways caregivers and frontline health workers can support individuals and groups who are experiencing distress. As today's slides highlight, helping begins with listening and not fixing. During today's session, we'll explore how to recognize distress in everyday settings, how to apply basic supportive listening skills, and how to use trauma-informed and non-stigmatizing language. And of course, how to know when someone may need a referral for additional support. We also encourage participation throughout the session. Your experiences are an important part of learning together, so please continue to share comments in the chat and we'll address them as appropriate. Today, we're fortunate enough to have again Efrata and Brianna guiding the session. Before we begin, they will go ahead and jump in with their own icebreaker, but we already have one. And if you haven't done so, please let us know where you are joining us from today in the chat. And with that, I'll hand things over to Efrata and Brianna.
Yes. Thank you so much, Govinda, and welcome everyone. It's really good to have you here. So to start off, I want to briefly walk us through what we'll be focusing on today, so you have a clear sense of where we're going and what you can expect to take away. So by the end of this session, there are 4 key things we're hoping you'll leave with. The first is being able to recognize distress in everyday settings, not just when it's obvious, but when it shows up in more subtle ways. Second is learning how to use simple, supportive listening skills that you can apply right away, and we'll practice this. Third is exploring how to use trauma-informed and non-stigmatizing language. And finally, understanding when it's important to involve additional support or refer someone on to someone who's more professional. So as you hear these things, I want you to take a second and think about what feels most relevant to you right now. And if you're comfortable, you can come off of mute or share it in the chat. But of these 4 objectives, which one are you most looking forward to exploring? Apply basic supportive listening skills. The second one?
Yes, apply basic supportive listening skills.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. We have some activities that'll really give us that practice. Listening skills again. Okay, so I'm sensing the second one is going to be our most popular topic today, which is great. Awesome. So that's helpful, and we'll make sure that we anchor all of our conversations back to those skills. So you might notice that none of these are about diagnosing or fixing. This session is really about how we show up in everyday interactions, how we listen, how we respond, how we support. So with that in mind, let's start by grounding ourselves in what counseling actually is and what it looks like in practice. So Efrata, I am passing it over to you.
Thank you. Yes, like Brianna have said, let's briefly look into what counseling actually is and getting into clarification about what it actually entails and what it actually includes. So counseling is not necessarily giving advice, or it's not telling someone what to do necessarily. It is not also solving their problem, or fixing the situation, and clearing that out of like understanding what it is not
really gives us and narrows it down to exactly what it is and what exactly counseling is. Um, and the most important thing, like Brianna have said, it does not require any clinical diagnosis or a professional title to counsel someone. So what 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 exactly is counseling then? It is more intensive and it is a personal process as well. It is about listening and understanding someone's life challenge and supporting their own change and growth. Very easy, right? It is listening and it's a very intensive and a personal process and understanding someone's life challenge. That is the basic definition of counseling. Um, it is not like we have said fixing. Think about that for a moment. Helping begins with listening, as some of you have shared as well too, that we're looking forward to learning more and talking more about listening. That is exactly what counseling is. Um, and since most of us here are in the service giving positions and facilities, you might have been counseling until right now too. So we're going to refine and strengthen the skill that we have already. Looking into what counseling is, we need to separate it from two other things that integrate with it. Looking into this Venn diagram. So looking at this Venn diagram, where does counseling sit? Because understanding what it's not help us know what it is, like we have said. Think of three levels, or think of this three circles when you think of counseling, interviewing, and psychotherapy. The first level is interviewing. Interviewing is the basic gathering of information, understanding the situation. It is very short, it's focused, it is commonly used in like medicine, law, and education field. It's commonly used in multiple fields as well too. You probably do this every day as well too. And counseling, it goes much deeper than interviewing. It builds on the interview and it is ongoing. Interviewing could last for a day or for a few hours, while counseling goes on for weeks or even months as well. It is relational as well too. It is centered on the person, not only the problem or the situation. You're not just gathering information, you're walking alongside someone's tough situation that they are in. And after working in counseling, we look into psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is the deepest level and the deepest level of work. It is much longer than counseling. It is more intense, and it requires specialized clinical training. That is not what we're going to talk about today, but psychotherapy is equally important as well as counseling too. Um, but here's what I want everyone to know and to hold on to. The skills you build in interviewing and counseling are real. It is evidence-based. It is meaningful for the person you are talking to, for the person you are helping out, and the person you are communicating with. You do not need to be a therapist to change someone's day or their situation in their lives. I want to ask everyone to share if whether they have seen this work of like interviewing and counseling in their own work, and whether they have seen the difference in their own work. I'm gonna give it just a few seconds.
Yeah, I'll say one way that I like to use the interviewing process is to actually decide if it's something that I'm equipped to handle or if it's something that I need to pass over to the psychotherapist. So that's a good chance for me to be able to assess the severity of their needs.
True. Yes, that is a big skill to have to understand the level of understanding the level of work you can do. Yes.
Acknowledging my own limitations.
And it's really helpful for the client and for the person you are working with as well too. Yeah, I see a couple of people saying they have seen it. Yes. So since we all have somehow seen the interviewing and the counseling in our own work, let's look at some of the cultural expressions of distress clients and the people we work with do express. Looking into why we need counseling, it is because people seek someone when they are distressed and they are going through some difficult situations, right? It is starting, it might be stating the obvious, but some people might seek counseling, but need it. Some people might not seek counseling, might not come to you and say, "Oh, I need counseling, I need psychotherapy," but they need it. And through understanding this cultures of expression they have, we can understand and we can see whether they need counseling, whether they need a listening ear, whether they need someone to just be there with them or not, is a skill to have. And you as someone, we as someone with the skill can be that intervention point, that key point to intervene and help them out. Before we talk about how to respond to distress, we need to talk about how distress actually shows up. And the term is usually known as idioms of distress. These are words and phrases people use in their own cultural context to describe their suffering, their problem, and the situation they are in. And they are often nothing like clinical language. They wouldn't necessarily come in and say, "Oh, I have this somatic depression or this somatic reaction to things." They don't, clients or like people we talk to don't necessarily have the clinical works, the clinical language people use, right? So we're looking into the cultural expressions in the idioms of distress people use. When looking at this Venn diagram, there are three categories people express: the physical, the social, and the spiritual one, and the emotional one. When looking into the physical expressions, people might say, "My heart is heavy. I feel tired in my bones." It really relates to their body and how they feel in their body. They might also say, "I have a head pressure," and they might also say like, "Oh, my mind is quiet. I am tired. My body feels like I am carrying a lot of things." That is an idiom of distress. That is an expression to show that they are distressed. Another one we can look into is the emotional expressions, which sounds something like they would probably say they are thinking too much, or the quite opposite of say, "My mind is quiet. My mind is also like, I'm not thinking of anything right now." It can be both. They would probably would say, "I've been feeling like I want to cry every single time." And those are very much acceptable and common cultural expressions. The last one, before we jump into to hearing about what expressions you might have heard, the last one is the social and spiritual expressions. These are more related to the spiritual and the interactive and the relational aspects of their life, which might seem like they would probably say something like, "My spirit is tired. I feel disconnected. Something is not." They would probably say something is not right with me. They might also say, "I've not been." If they are spiritual, they would say, "I've not been praying. I have not been going to gatherings, or like the I've not been going to gatherings that gave me comfort previously." And these are very common cultural expressions of distress. And I wanna ask if anyone has heard or used any of the cultural expressions or any different cultural expressions you hear in your community. Share it in the chat and we'll read it out loud.
Thank you so much. These are very, very interesting. I just wanted to remind our presenters to slow down just a little bit for the interpretation. And like Efrata just said, if someone wants to go ahead and let us know about expressions they have heard, whether these are emotional expressions, physical expressions, or spiritual, social expressions.
I'll say for people who work with children, you'll notice that they often don't have the words to explain any sort of distress. So you'll find that kids a lot of times will say that they have stomach aches or that they have headaches as a way of trying to explain to the adults in their lives that they have anxiety or are feeling some sort of some sort of stress.
Yeah. Mm, true. Kids usually have a lot of expressions. I see in the chat people are responding. I feel like something is crawling in my head. Fidelia said that. Yes. As if something is going around their head and walking around and moving around.
There's also feeling lazy or not motivated, feeling low morally,
Yeah.
feeling left out or as if I am walking in the dark. That's really interesting.
Feeling restless. Hmm.
I see one person mentioned isolation.
Yeah.
Yes, generally, if you see any change in behavior, it can be a sign that someone is in any level of distress. But if someone is typically very social and they start to isolate themselves, that is a very clear sign that they may need distress and may benefit from having someone like you just approach them and ask them if they need any sort of support.
Yeah.
There's a comment in French about patients with cancer saying that they are very tired physically and emotionally, so that they feel that they don't have the energy to fight the disease.
Mm.
Mm. Very much understandable. With all the treatments they might have been going through, with all the situations they are in, it is key to understand this cultural expressions in this expressions are very much valid and true to their own sense. Mm. They might show disconnectedness and giving up as well too. Mm. Feeling like they are not themselves. Mm. One other spiritual distress I read is from Doria, God is not fair. That is very common. I've heard that quite a few times too in my field of work as well too. This spiritual disconnectedness and this spiritual disconnectedness from God and feeling like they are isolated and left out. Mm. These are all very important. I feel lonely. Yeah. These are very important things everyone has been mentioning. Feeling low. And I want to emphasize that this cultural expressions as as people who are going through this basic counseling skills and as a community working, working to be there for other people, we need to attune to what these cultural expressions are saying when it comes to their distress. That is why we work on our skills, and that's why we work to address this, and that is why counseling is important. And research tells us that something important, a single supportive conversation can reduce isolation and distress. Just a single supportive conversation. People often don't need any answers, or don't even need any directions or advice. They just need that single supportive conversation. They need to feel heard and being present and non-judgmental. That by itself is a very therapeutic act. So what does supportive listening looks like? These are the core micro skills. These are skills that would strengthen your counseling work. These are the skills that would strengthen the skill you already have when counseling someone and helping someone out and being there. Looking at the supportive listening skills, or the core micro skills, the first one is attending behavior. These are all this all compromise, and they all come into the importance of counseling as well too. Attending behavior is about your body, before your words. Before you say anything, it is about how you present yourself. It is how you show you care by your body language, and that is the easiest of everything else. That is the easiest of all. It is giving eye contact, although you have to be culturally aware of whether giving a direct eye contact is culturally appropriate or not, but sometimes it is often seen as an attentive. It's communicating that you are giving them your attention, you're giving them your whole being to just listen and be there for them. And giving an open posture, not being closed off, and being open, and directly standing before them, or even like side by side too, just having an open posture, and following that person's cue, not your own agenda, not to address certain things in counseling, rather just attending their own needs, and whatever they are saying goes really a long way. In a way to indirectly, this is all in a way to indirectly communicate that you are there, that you have, that they have your full attention. With that, the second one is active listening. This is actually harder than it sounds. Active listening means you are not planning your next response while the other person is talking. Active listening requires you to sit and listen to what they actually say. You are actually absorbing what they are saying, then reflecting it back. It could be reflecting by saying, what I hear you saying is, and you continue to what they have said and repeat what they have said. It shows that you are listening. This act alone is so powerful and very much encouraging. Reflecting back and active listening, the reason why it's so hard is because you have to listen attentively, grasp whatever they are saying, and saying it back again, using their own words they have used. This is a very encouraging, very powerful skill to have. Another one is minimal.
If I could jump in there, Afra, I just wanted to add, with active listening, one of the reasons it's so difficult for us is because a part of us is scared of that pause. If we let someone talk and then we have not already developed a response, then we kind of feel like that we're not prepared. When in fact, if we let someone completely speak fully digest what they have to say and then respond, it not only signals to the person that we are fully here, we are not just trying to pass the conversation along. We're not just trying to say what we think that they want to hear or say what we want them to hear, but we are actually curating our response specifically to the words that they are saying to us in the situation right now. So oftentimes you may feel awkward taking that pause after your active listening, but it's signaling to them that you are fully present.
Yeah. Yes. And again, it is unexpected too. They would come at a time of crisis, and you might not have any advices or anything, or any directions. And being there and attentively listening to what they have said is very much the big portion of counseling, and a very much most important part of counseling as well too. Yeah. Another one we can look into is reflection of feelings. It is somehow related to active listening. Um, this is where you gently name the emotion you observe. Not you are angry, not saying like, oh, you are angry, I see that you're angry, but saying something like, it sounds like this has been really frustrating. You are offering a mirror, not necessarily a diagnosis. This step matters because naming the emotion helps people feel seen and understood. Just like active listening, reflecting back their emotions in a way to reframe and grasp whatever they have said, in a more sound way, in a more appropriate way, would really help. The other one is minimal encouragers, which goes before reflective listening. It is somehow similar to active listening and reflective or feeling. That's why it comes in between. This is saying something like, I see, go on. This is to encourage them and to keep on going, to keep on sharing whatever they are sharing, and to encourage them that you are listening and that you are giving them your attention for them to continue on and say whatever they are sharing. This is a very encouraging part as well too. It matters enormously, and it really helps the person in crisis, the person in distress, share more and feel safe with you too. The other two are the first one is paraphrasing, which is restating what was said in your own words. After they have said, after you engage with them and encourage them to go on, reflecting back their feelings, actively listening to them. By the end of their, like, let's say, sentence, by the end of one topic they have talked about, one distress topic they have shared, you paraphrase it, and restating what they have said in your own words by saying something like, so if I understand correctly, and you continue on to say what you understood and what you have actively listened and grasped. This confirms understanding, and it shows the person that you are actually listening to them, and they are actually heard. The last one is summarizing. After talking briefly about their distress in the situations they are in, this is pulling together the key themes at the end. You pull in the key things you have heard, and this requires a lot of active listening. This is why both me and Brianna have emphasis on active listening. It really adds to paraphrasing and summarizing. You have to listen actually to summarize, pull together the themes, and say, by the end of it, and say something like, you've shared a lot today. What I'm hearing is this. It could probably be summarized in 3 up to 5 things, and this will wrap up the conversation and signals that you are tracking the whole thing and you have listened throughout the whole conversation. I want to ask which of this you already do naturally and or which ones do you think you need to practice more intentionally? If anyone wants to share in the chat, I'd open that up.
So just to echo the question, please in the chat, let us know which one you use or which one you are actually use the most because you might be using more than one.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and share in the chat which one you already use.
Attending behavior and active listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Active listening. Thank you so much. Yes. Really requires a lot of attuning, behavior, active listening.
For me, I think the minimal encouragement is something that I try to do. So I think about, or any of you, if you've ever had a presentation, I think about how hard the presentation is when no one is giving you any feedback with their facial expressions. And so when someone is talking to me, I really try to encourage them and let them know, like, I am here, I am listening, I am all like for however long we have. My
Yeah.
attention is fully on you because I know how it feels when you don't have that type of support.
Yes. To help you keep on going and to help you understand that you are being like heard.
Mhm.
Reflection of feelings, thinning behavior. And with this as well too, I would like to encourage everyone to look into some of the things we have mentioned, this core, the micro skills, the core micro skills. You want to practice more intentionally. This the answer you can hold on to yourself, or you can share in the chat as well too as we move on. But the most common ones I read through is active listening, um, and reflection of feelings, paraphrasing.
Mhm.
Mm. Thank you so much for sharing. As we move on into looking into counseling, I'll give it to Brianna.
Thanks. Thank you, Efrata. That foundation is really important because once we understand what counseling is and how distress can actually show up, the next step is how we respond in those moments. And we've talked a little bit about it in our core micro moments, but one of the most powerful tools we have is actually how we ask questions. Because the way we ask a question can either open a conversation or shut it down completely. For example, if someone says, I've been feeling really overwhelmed, and we respond with, Are you okay? That's a closed question. It's a yes or no, and the conversation can potentially end right there, and we haven't learned anything about their situation. But if instead we ask, Can you tell me more about what's been feeling overwhelming? We're inviting the person to share more. Supportive questions are meant to be open, gentle, and curious. They do not assume ever. We are always letting the person lead us. Some examples might sound like, What has that been like for you? Or how are you managing all of this? Or what has been the hardest part? And just as important as what we ask is what we avoid asking. So questions like, Why didn't you? Can feel very blaming. Or asking too many questions all at once can feel overwhelming. And leading questions like, You're feeling angry, right? Can make people feel misunderstood. So in the previous slide, Efrata had asked, What is one thing that we need to work on? And for me, it's the naming emotions because I'm worried that I might be leading them by saying you're feeling sad when in fact they're feeling frustrated. So what we're aiming for when we're having these simple questions is curiosity without pressure. So I want to try this together. I'm going to give you a statement and I want you to come up with a supportive question in response. You can put it in the chat or you can come off mute. So the statement is, I just feel so tired all the time. What is a question that you may ask me? I'm just feeling tired all the time. What do you think is causing that? Why do you think that is? Yes. These are open questions. Oh, I see a question. Esperanza, do you have a question related to how to ask a good question? Okay. If you do, feel free to put it in the chat. Um, okay, let's see. What else do we have? What is making you feel tired? Since when did you start to feel this way? What could be the cause? Yes. So all of these are really good open questions. They will require me to think about why I'm feeling tired and really go through the process instead of just saying a yes or no and then potentially ending the conversation there. That's great. Okay, here is another one. I feel like something is not right with me. What might you ask? I feel like something is just not right. Yeah, Joseph, tell me more is always a really simple one. If you are not quite sure how to phrase a question, tell me more is great. And honestly, I use this even if I'm not understanding something. Like if someone has a statement that I haven't fully grasped, that's my response. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that? So that is a really great backup question just to have in your pocket. Tell me more about this feeling. I like that. Would you like to talk more about this? I really like that question because it gives the person the ability to say that they either don't or they do. And so while this is a closed question, the answer is either yes or no. By their response, you can decide how you can proceed with the conversation. They are either giving you permission to continue probing or asking that you gently leave it alone. Mm, yeah. So you guys are fully aware of great open questions. So this is good. You're staying open, you're not assuming, and you're giving the person room to explain in their own way. And sometimes even one well-placed question can completely shift how supported someone feels. Now, questions are only one part of the response, though. So what we say after someone shares is also really important. Can we go to the next slide? Perfect. When someone opens up, how we respond can either deepen their sense of safety with us or unintentionally shut it down. And this is where validation comes in. Validation is about communicating that someone's feelings make sense given what they've been through. And I just want to reiterate that this doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything. It just means that we acknowledge their experience as real and understandable for them. So if someone says, I'm just so tired of everything, a validating response might be, that sounds really exhausting. Or it makes sense that you feel worn down with everything you're carrying. The incorrect answer would be something like, I'm not understanding why you're so tired. You are able to get 8 hours of sleep and your job isn't that difficult. That's not validating. We can all agree to that. Saying things like it makes sense, That sounds exhausting. I understand what you're saying to me. These are validating. Now, notice that these phrases are not fixing or minimizing, it's staying with them. It's not even putting ourselves in their position. It's just acknowledging how they are feeling and basically giving them an ear to listen to, a shoulder to lean on. So, we are going to try another quick practice. I'm going to read a statement and I want you to respond with a validating statement. So, I feel like I'm not coping well. What is a validating statement that you can give me? I feel like I'm not coping well. And oftentimes, when you're thinking of validating statements, a little cheat sheet that I like to say is think about what you would want to hear. If you were in the exact same, if you had the exact same statement, what would make you feel supported? So I do not feel like I'm coping well. How would you want to be responded to? That sounds really natural. Mhm. Given all that you're dealing with, that is completely normal. It's normal to feel like that sometimes. That's understandable. Exactly. So just letting them know that they are not alone, that what they're feeling is completely normal. Oftentimes, when people are in a situation where they are vulnerable, they're feeling like they're the only ones, that no one else can ever understand them. So even if we're not in the exact same situations, we can let them know that what they're dealing with, what they're feeling is a normal emotion, a normal feeling, especially in the contexts of whatever it is that they are dealing with. Great. Okay, and what did they do to make that experience meaningful? So I want you to think about a time when someone was supportive to you. What did they do to make your interactions with them meaningful? Think of one person who maybe just said a kind word to you, did something that made you feel like you weren't the only one. Can you think of a concrete thing that they said or did that made you feel supported? And I'll start and just say for me, a lot of times it's when someone's just there listening to me. I want to vent. If something big has happened, I often just want to vent and have someone listen, not fix my problems, not tell me what I should do next, just be a sounding board for me. And so, what is a concrete example you can give of when someone has shown up for you, either in their actions or their words, that made you feel like you weren't alone?
Mm. For me, um, what's really been helpful is um usually it would distress shows up in random conversations, and the other person
Mhm.
might just be on their phone or doing something else, and putting away whatever they're doing has given me a lot of encouragement of like, oh, they're listening, they're actually listening to me. I might as well share now, and that really opens up a door for me to just share more.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. A lot of comments were getting very similar. Having someone just be there to listen, someone to say, "Don't worry, I'm there for you."
Mm,
Lori, I really like your comment here. You said that they continue to check up on you and ask how you are doing. They would
yeah.
call or write every 3 to 4 days and follow up, and they
Mm,
told you that they were praying for you.
mm,
Keeping the space sacred, having the knowledge that that conversation, the space that you've created is trusted and safe. So
mm,
much of this really is about vulnerability, and you can only be vulnerable if you trust that the space is safe.
true.
I am there for you. Exactly. Yeah. So you can see how these responses communicate understanding and care. And that's where something important happens. People don't need immediate solutions. They need to feel heard, understood, and not alone. Even one supportive conversation, when someone feels listened to and validated, can reduce distress enough for them to be able to figure out the answers on their own. What's important is that all of these are things that we can offer. Before we move on, I want to connect both the skills, the questions, and the validation. So putting these together. Think about this. If someone says, I feel overwhelmed, what is one supportive question you can ask? And what is one validating response you can give? And you don't have to share this here. I want you to think about it so that you're prepared for the next time someone attempts to be vulnerable with you. And if you want to take just 30 seconds to jot down a few questions and a few validating responses so that you can practice them and have them on hand the next time someone wants to talk to you. So I'll give you about 20 more seconds to do this. So one supportive question you could ask and one validating response you could give. Okay. So we'll come back to this idea later and look more closely at what helps and what can sometimes have the exact opposite effect. But for now, let's build on this and look at what these skills actually look like. So Efrata, over to you.
Yeah. So by now I'm sure everyone is already noticing that we that the helpful and then unhelpful skills we can have when counseling someone, and the validation and the normalization, how it is very important. The things that seem very simple, the things that seem very easy, but when actually doing it, when actually in the situation, they seem very hard to address. We've been noticing this pattern, right? Let's put that inside a bigger frame, which is the trauma-informed way of working with people, which is the trauma-informed counseling. A trauma-informed stance means being aware that the person in front of you, the person you are engaging with, may have experienced trauma. This is a stance, this is an understanding, this is a skill you have and at the back of your head, and you can use it in every situation that you are in every counseling, in every interactions that you're in. It is this basic understanding that this person you are engaging with may have experienced trauma. You don't need them to disclose anything to be trauma informed. You just hold the possibility and you move accordingly. You look at the possibility of this person might not just be in distress, but might have gone through some traumatic experience, and just being aware of that.
And I really want to emphasize that, Afrada, because you make a really good point.
Yeah.
They do not need to disclose to you whatever is distressing them in order for you to hold a trauma-informed space. Okay? Yeah. So you can just physically be there for them without needing to know any of the personal things until and unless they are ready to actually share that with you. So I just want to emphasize that, so we are not pressuring people to tell us what's going on in their lives if they're not ready. We are following their speed at all times.
Yeah. And like we have said early on, because counseling, it's not just a day-long interaction, it's a relational thing. You'll get to meet, there's a possibility of you meeting up with this person again, and you being present with them and you being there for them every now and then. It gives the other person the possibility, the opportunity as well to share this trauma, maybe, but they don't necessarily have to, like Brianna have said. And you can be trauma informed by three principles. that can help this conversation, that can help your counseling skills be trauma informed and be more stronger. The first one is safety. It is creating a physical and emotional safe space. Be predictable, be calm, and non-reactive. If someone says something surprising or upsetting or very traumatic thing, you do not react with shock. If someone said, "Oh, this thing happened," and it is something out of the ordinary, you stay calm, you stay present, and be predictable. Your steadiness is like a gift. It's like something you give to that person. You being there, it tells them, whatever you share, I can hold it. It is expressing, it is sharing and saying, whatever you're sharing, whatever it is heavy for you, I can carry it with you. And that is by just being there and creating safety. The second one is giving that person a choice, giving that person the agency over the conversation and asking, is it okay if I ask you about that? If the person has gone through, like we have said, some traumatic experience, giving them a choice to open up. And that can sound like asking questions like starting the question like, is it okay if I ask you about that? Is it okay if we briefly touch upon the thing you have mentioned, whether how that experience is affecting you? Giving the choice back is part of this trauma informed counseling, this basic counseling skill. And the last one is collaboration. This is working with the person and not on them. You're not working on them. You're not working to fix them. Rather, you're working collaboratively with that person. It goes along with the choice of giving that person the agency to be themselves and to have that ability to hold on to and to keep on going. You are not the expert in their life, and they are the ones who are expert. They are the ones who know about their lives. And this and how you show that is by avoiding this helper-patient dynamic, this patient counselor, this patient therapist dynamic that might come up. This would probably take a long time, but because you are counseling someone, it would help in collaborating, in showing that you are working with them, working alongside with them. And I want to ask, think of this three principles and the safety, the choice, and the collaborations. I want to see if which ones you might take into practice, or which ones have you been using to be more trauma informed, to create safety.
Thank you so much for posing that question. So again, which of these techniques do you use? Safety, choice, collaboration, and then you can go ahead and put it in the chat.
Yeah.
While everyone is answering, I'm just going to suggest to the speakers to go ahead and skip the next slide and go to the referral slide when additional support may be needed. The rest of the slides can be reviewed on your own. We will go ahead and send that as always. Go ahead, Effie. Thank you.
When looking into additional support, these are situations where the person you are with is sharing something and it is out of your scope. It is something out of your capacity to handle. And this is a place or a skill to have, and to hand it off to someone who might be well skilled, who might be well informed in that situation and be more helpful than you. It is to understand that the distress is persistent, and when you're communicating with this person and when you're spending a lot of time with this person, you see the situation and the distress they are in, and it's still persistent and it's worsening over time. And also you might see a safety concern as well too, like whether they are in the verge of like harming themselves or others. This is where like you do safety works, and you also might see significant functional decline, like because of the trauma, because of the distress level they are in. You see their skills, their basic daily activities declining, and you notice that again throughout the relationship you have with that person. And this is a skill to notice these things and say, okay, I see this, I see that you are going through this, and warmly and very in a very respectful way, giving them the choice to continue on working with another skilled person who might be specializing. There might be stigma towards psychotherapy and a lot of diagnostic works. So being aware of that, being aware of the stigma they might be holding on to, and say giving them the choice again. This is being trauma informed, and giving them also the option to continue on in this healing process they are going through, and warmly handing them off to another person.
Thank you so much. I really love the what you say about lovingly handing them off. Very important. And if we want to go ahead and just review this case study,
Yes.
and then we are going to wrap up. Thank you. Go ahead.
Um,
Was
as
this
always,
All right.
go on.
Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly read this, and then if we have the time, you can put some of the discussion question answers in the chat. But Fatima is a 34-year-old woman. 3 weeks ago, she lost her youngest child, a 2-year-old boy, due to complications following an illness. She had taken him to the health post twice before he passed, and she had been quietly wondering whether she had done enough. She comes in today saying she has been having headaches and hasn't been sleeping. When the caregiver asks how she is, she says, "I'm fine," but looks down, speaks quietly, and doesn't make eye contact. After a pause, she adds, "My heart is heavy. I just feel tired in my bones." When asked gently if she'd like to sit for a moment, Fatima nods and takes a seat. She hasn't asked for help directly, but she stayed. So I want to make sure we have enough time for questions. So I just want you to look through these discussion questions and think about what you notice. What would your first response be? What open questions could you ask? Use this as a practice before you start talking to your own patients, your own clients. Okay, we go to the next slide, and then if there are any questions, this is the time to come off of mute, put it in the chat, and let's see if we can get you some answers.
If you have any questions about any of the material, we can answer them now. I know we're right at the time, but I want to make sure that everyone has their questions answered. As you know, you can always send us the questions as well. Esther, could you put in our email address into the chat? We are going to send everyone who registered an email with all of the information that we had here. So please feel free to also write back to us and let us know if you have anything. Brianna, there's a question in the chat if you'd like to address it. Thank you.
Okay, yes. Can you share a list of good general questions to spark conversation? Sure, we could definitely share some open-ended questions, and I also would encourage you guys just to sit and think specifically about the types of interactions that you are working with. So we can give some general open-ended questions, but you are the expert in the people that you're working with directly to know what would work best for them, and what honestly you would feel most comfortable delivering. Any other questions before we sign off?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say something, my experience.
Go
When
ahead,
you
Sister
said
Vivian.
when additional support, it happened to me. This couple came, and what they were experiencing, I didn't have knowledge, but I postponed the session to go and inquire. After that, I gave them appointment to come back and explain and listen to them actively in what they were telling me now, because now I had the experience and it made sense to them. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yes.
Oh,
Inviting
go
them
ahead.
again. Yeah, inviting them back again to share more and being open to them, to like showing that you're open is very important. Yeah.
And with that, I invite everyone to turn on your cameras. We'll take a picture. Thank you, Efrata. Thank you, Brianna, for guiding us through today's session. Before we close, as a reflection to yourself, just think about and write down for yourself in your journal or whatever you use if you're taking one of our courses. What did you learn about today? You're going to receive all of the slides, but writing down something might also help. I know that today I learned or had a refresher about validation and normalization. I want to remind everyone also that we have a learning path on mental health and psychosocial support. So please explore our learning paths and let us know if you're interested in it. We will have it available in French in June for the June session, and you can take it as you don't have to take anything else to take that. Thank you again for joining us. The next session, our last session, is next week. Our last session is going to be on strengthening connections and navigating existing supports. We hope to see you there. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so
So,
much.
everyone's camera is on. Please stop sharing, Effie, and I'll take a quick picture to include in the email. If you don't want your picture included, don't turn on your camera. Thank you. And cheese. One more. The next one. We have two full sets. Makes me very happy to see everyone. 1, 2, and 3. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. And I will we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Merci.
Thank you, Messi.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
It's so nice. It's so nice. It's
Thank
so
you.
nice.
Thank you. Bye.